Back to the phones. Elizabeth is in Peterborough, Ontario. Hi there.
Good evening, and thank you again for taking my call.
You're welcome.
I'm interested in Bank of America. I have some stocks and made a little money. I'm wondering, should I leave it there for the next 12 months or should I sell it? Thank you for telling me what to do.
So Elizabeth, you know, our view is that we are in a sort of a liquidity-induced rally at this point. A lot is going to depend on economic data as it comes through the course of the fall. But currently, the banks are definitely in the U.S. benefiting, some of the big money center banks specifically. So Bank of America and Wells Fargo, probably the most interesting in U.S. Bancorp. So we actually own Bank of America. I would say we're a little bit more of a renter than a long-term buyer. If this market rally stays intact, we'll stay there. So I think if you own it, I would hold it, but I want to have a stop on it. I think long-term, the risk continues to be in the banks that we get multiple compression because many of the business units are under pressure from a return on equity standpoint. But in the short run, Bank of America is a name that people will go to in a decent market, and you could see further lift in the stock.
And do you hold any other U.S. banks?
We own some U.S. Bancorp, we own Bank of America, we own Wells Fargo, and that would be it.
And will Bank of America and Wells Fargo specifically, will they benefit from the Fed buying mortgage-backed securities?
Well, that's a tough question. They benefit from that, but ultimately, if by keeping long rates low, then their interest margins get squeezed. So they're borrowing from a depositor short term, and they're trying to lend it long. One, there's not a lot of loan growth, and two, they're not making much of a spread on it. So there's, you know, that's a little bit problematic. But ultimately, if the housing market benefits from that, then Bank of America is a big beneficiary, and as is Wells Fargo, specifically on the mortgage side.
Let's go on to the rails now. We have Gordon in Hope, BC. Hi, Gordon.
Hi, how are you today?
Very well. How are you?
Good. I just want to find out what his opinion is on the rail sector right across North America and how the Bakken play will affect profits in that.
Sure. Gordon, so we just talked about things that we rent. This is something that we own. We have a pretty significant investment in railway companies. And if you look at the backdrop, the transports as a group are not behaving very well, which is one of the reasons we have concern around the sustainability of this equity rally. Transports and semiconductors have been underperforming. But in the transports group, the railways are behaving extremely well. And the main theme here is that we have a boom in energy production going on in North America. There isn't enough infrastructure to move it from A to B. And so specifically, the rails are the big beneficiary in the short and intermediate term because the volumes of oil that are being shipped by rail are going up dramatically. So we own both CNR and CP. Both are big beneficiaries. We also own Union Pacific. I think the group as a whole is worth being invested in. But specifically, I think if you had to pick one or two, both CN and CP look attractive. And this is a theme that we think could go on for some time. Turns out Warren Buffett was pretty smart in buying Burlington Northern at a time. But because there's all of this new production coming on, there's not enough pipeline capacity, the rails are big beneficiaries. And it's not so economically sensitive specifically in this case.
So there's room to run, even though CNR has more than doubled since the March 09 lows.
Yeah, you know, these guys are doing a great job with their costs and pretty hard to truck oil. So realistically, the rails are in a pretty dominant position here, and they're in have a great opportunity to make money.
Interesting. Let's take a short break here with David Burrows. Our nightly reminder that you can get the top picks and analysis from our guests if you missed them during the day. You get the Market Call newsletter sent straight to your inbox. All you have to do is go to bnn.ca/subscribe, and you get the picks and everything else.